Buenos dias from Laos Point. This is the Rorschach Argentina update from the 27th of August, 2026. A quick summary of what's going down in Argentina. We begin this episode with legislative affairs. The lower house will debate two major economic bills this week as President Milei pushes to advance his legislative agenda. The first initiative reforms the charter of the central bank, restricting its mandate exclusively to preserving currency value, while banning it from directly funding state spending to prevent future inflation spikes. The second bill, dubbed Fiscal Innocence, aims to encourage Argentines to bring untaxed foreign currency into the formal financial system by raising tax evasion reporting thresholds. To build enough support for those votes, ruling party, Libertad Avanza, agreed to include regional economic proposals from provincial lawmakers, such as lowering sales tax on cassava. On a related economic note, Luis Caputo, the economy minister, announced a 2 trillion peso, roughly $1.3 billion US dollars, plan to kickstart mortgage lending across the country. The government will auction funds from the Sovereign Pension Reserve Fund, known as the FIH, to guarantee long-term bank deposits. Banks will then use those deposits to issue home loans to an estimated 18,000 families. The administration hopes this liquidity surge will revive the construction sector, which lost 80,000 jobs and over 1,600 companies after the government froze public works projects. Construction leaders and private banks welcomed the announcement, though financial associations noted that they are still awaiting the fine print regarding access conditions. Speaking of massive investments in energy and construction, global banking giants JP Morgan and Banco Santander are leading financial negotiations for a $15 billion energy project in Patagonia. In a follow-up to our coverage last week on state energy firm YPF submitting its Argentina LNG project for tax incentives under RIGI, this financing package marks a giant step forward. YPF partnered with Italian firm Eni and Abu Dhabi's XRG to build floating liquefaction plants on the Atlantic coast to export natural gas from the Vaca Muerta shale formation in western Neuquén province. The entire development carries a total estimated price tag of $24 billion US dollars, marking it the largest infrastructure project in modern Argentine history. For a deeper perspective on this energy boom, a featured essay this week takes us right to the heart of Patagonia. Writing for the New York Times in English, reporter Emma Bubola examines whether the Vaca Muerta shale boom can help Argentina's struggling economy. She describes how thousands of job seekers are flocking to the desert town of Añelo, where crude oil recently surpassed soy flour as the nation's top export for the first time in history. To read the full piece, check out the link in the show notes. While mega projects like Vaca Muerta offer high hopes for the future, a new state contract with Elon Musk's satellite venture is drawing heavy scrutiny from local tech and telecom sectors. The National Communications Agency awarded Starlink a $22 million contract to provide satellite internet to 6,000 rural schools for 3 years. Critics from competitor firms and research centers questioned the decision because the government awarded the contract directly without a public bidding process. Industry representatives also expressed frustration that state funds from the Universal Service Fund will help pay the Starlink's corporate services while excluding state-owned satellite operator ARSAT, whose third satellite project remains stalled due to budget cuts. Switching from satellite connectivity to artificial intelligence copyright battles, Editorial, Perfil, an Argentine publisher, filed a pioneering lawsuit against OpenAI and Microsoft in federal court. Perfil accused the tech companies of using its articles, investigative reporting, and paywalled interviews without permission or payment to train AI systems such as ChatGPT and Copilot. The media group highlighted that while OpenAI signed commercial licensing deals with major publishers in Europe and the United States, it continues to use Latin American journalism without compensating local newsrooms, creating unfair market competition. Building on last week's report about the shooting of Bolivian lawyer Nadia Belair in Santa Cruz de la Sierra, Bolivian authorities placed Fernando Cerramedo, the Argentine political consultant, under 180 days of pretrial detention in Bolivia. Prosecutors accused Cerramedo of ordering the gun attack against Belair, his former partner, outside a local hotel. Belair, who left the hospital in a wheelchair under police escort on Saturday the 22nd, took part in the court hearing via video link. Meanwhile, 2 additional suspects testified in court on Sunday the 23rd, including a man accused of supplying the weapon and another who turned himself in. Cerramedo strongly denied ordering the attack and labeled the detention order as baseless, while his defense team appeals the ruling. Back to Argentina, a recent comparative study revealed that prescription medicine prices in the country are among the highest in the world. The report analyzed 17 essential active ingredients and found that 90% of common medications cost more in local pharmacies than in international markets, with median prices tripling those found abroad. For instance, daily treatments for thyroid conditions and high cholesterol cost up to 8 times more in Argentina than in Spain or India. The government cited these cost differences to support its plan to deregulate the pharmaceutical sector, encourage generic drug prescriptions, and allowed provincial governments to import lower-cost medicines directly from international suppliers. High pharmacy costs represent just one aspect of the broader financial strain facing local families. Thousands of demonstrators gathered near the Economy Ministry in Buenos Aires City to protest surging household debt and high bank interest rates. Central bank statistics indicate that almost 6 million people, about 12% of the population, are behind on loan repayments, marking the highest default rate in 20 years. A Latin American banking report confirmed that Argentina leads the region with a 7.3 bank default rate, even though overall private credit in the country accounts for just 14% of gross domestic product. This broader economic tightness is also reshaping how Argentines spend their holidays. Data from National Statistics Agency, INDEC, showed that outbound international travel by Argentine residents fell 21% in July compared to the same month last year. In contrast, foreign visitor arrivals grew 18% year-on-year, totaling over 800,000 visitors. Most of that growth stemmed from same-day travelers visiting border regions, while the overall travel balance remained at a deficit of almost 400,000 people. Turning from travel numbers to television screens, pop culture enthusiasts are celebrating a major milestone for one of Argentina's most iconic figures. Netflix released an 8-episode biopic series titled Moria, marking the 80th birthday of entertainer Moria Casán. The series explores her career from its beginnings in the 1970s theater vedette to her reign as a top television host and endearingly outspoken media personality. Known for her theatrical catchphrases and bold self-reinvention, Casán also became a celebrated icon within Argentina's LGBTQ+ community over her 5-decade career. On the sports front, Argentine fans had plenty to celebrate on the turf this week. Both the national women's and men's field hockey teams qualified for the World Cup semifinals in simultaneous tournaments held in Europe. Argentina joins co-host nation, the Netherlands, as the only 2 countries to place both national teams in the Final Four. Las Leonas, the women's team, secured their spot after a hard-fought 0-0 draw against Belgium. Los Leones, the men's team, earned their place with a 5-3 victory over India. To close this edition, on a visual note, the famous landmark in Buenos Aires province just earned global recognition. The La Plata Cathedral won a virtual international tournament dubbed the World Cup of Cathedrals, capturing 93% of the votes in a final round against Florence's Santa Maria del Fiore in Italy. The neo-Gothic building, which stands 112 meters tall, whose original construction began in 1884, officially opened 50 years later. Local tourism authorities expressed excitement over the award, noting that Pope Leo XIV plans to bless the iconic cathedral during his upcoming visit to Argentina in November. And that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. Anything to ask or tell us, email us at info@rorschach.com. If you want to be a peach, check out our t-shirts at rorschach.store. Nos vemos la próxima semana.